One of our goals for this year was to join some more organizations. And actually, we found that to be very strategic in the midst of, as a small business and a small team, we found this very strategic as a way to continue to reach more people in our market, is to join some more organizations. And in some ways, because we have this access of being online and Zoom, we can actually be more involved with organizations than physically going when we went to physical meetings. So it's kind of a weird and wonky time. A couple things. So you're not going to see my talking head the whole time, and you might get called on to interact if you want. Okay, well, maybe even if you don't want, you get called on. So for those of you who haven't been doing Two Busy Gals training, I've been training for decades, but in Two Busy Gals, we've been training for about 5 years in the Tucson market. And one of the things that's been important to us has been for it to be crazy meaningful for the participants. I don't know about you, but as a business owner and when I run nonprofits, an hour of my time is a lot of time. And I wanted to leave and say, there's a nugget, even if it's just one nugget, something I can do after the event. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Like, what do you want to get out of what you're hearing today? What would be the most useful thing for you to know? And if you want to, you could just drop that in the chat. Like, I would love to know about this. I'll give you a perfect example. We did a workshop earlier this week, and we were talking about the times, right? It's not just the pandemic. The first time we did this curriculum, which has been updated many, many times, was maybe like March 20th or something, like right after things were shutting down, and it was like, what the heck are we supposed to do? Since then, more stuff keeps happening, right, in the community. Even in Tucson, it's pretty intense, right? Yesterday, our chief of police offered his resignation. We have a number of things happening locally. There's things happening in the state. We're hot in the summer, but it's not really the hot spot maybe we want to be health-wise. So there's a lot of things going on. So while you're being present online, you want to think very strategically about what you say or don't say. Does that make sense? So think about that as we go through the workshop. We're trying to guide you and help provide you some strategy on how to be mindful with your marketing. You don't want to be left hanging out here as the organization who looks like they're not with it, right? Because a lot of stuff is happening. So with that, I'm going to hop over here and I'm going to, I think I have to share this. Let me do it this way. Everyone, thank goodness Lisa's here. Lisa makes sure that I don't have some screwy screen up. She's the one that says, hey, Jess, get with it. You clicked the wrong button. So one thing I recommend is if any of you have the opportunity to do a Zoom and you haven't done one yet, give us a call and we'll practice with you. Suppose you're going to use Zoom to interact with your clients. We would love to practice with you so you kind of work through these glitches. So if that's holding you back, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, which are now Google something else, but it was Google Hangouts. We use Facebook Messenger, lets you have 8 people video sharing at the same time through Facebook. We use that for team meetings. If any of those technologies are something where you're like, oh my gosh, this is super overwhelming for me, don't steer away from it. Give us a buzz and we'll practice with you. And we don't even charge for that. That's just something we're willing to give you as potential members of the chamber, people who come to this workshop. We want you to feel as comfortable as you can. I don't like video at all. Like, I have drugged my feet so much about doing online classes, video stuff. I'm not the one, right? My sister is the business partner that started this with me. She's got a TikTok channel. She can just shoot all the time. I'm not the great one for that. But we want to be here to support you. I'm a Disney girl. So I'm not a princess girl, but I'm a Disney girl. And this to me feels like everything we're doing right now. Venture outside your comfort zone. The rewards are worth it. I feel like every day we're outside our comfort zones right now. And so I think as much as we can encourage each other as business owners, as people running organizations and nonprofits, we're not going to be comfortable for a while. And if we accept that the outside may be uncomfortable, how can we be comfortable in running our businesses, right? I'm not trying to be too woo-woo. Yes, this is a marketing workshop, but I want us to think about, how are we getting outside that comfort zone? Have you used Zoom yet? Are you using video to connect with your customers? Are you trying to do different options with your customers? What have you done new and different on marketing? Okay. So first thing I want everyone to do is I want you to get out a pen. I know some of you are note takers. Get out a pen. If you're driving, don't get out a pen, just listen. And if you're driving, you must really love us if you're listening. Okay, so get out a pen. I want everyone to shake their pens. I can see Kim, I can see Margie, I can see another Kim. I got two Kims. Show me your pens. Awesome, great. This slide shows you customers. We've got all different kinds of customers. So grab a piece of paper. If you could see my desk, you would see there's 100 pieces of paper here I could grab right now. And I want you to write down the customer you're trying to reach before July 15th. Who are you trying to interact with before July 15th? What's that customer look like? Do they own a business? Are they a family? Are they a boomer? Are they using technology? Are they not using technology? What's your product and service? And who are you trying to reach before July 15th? Who's that person? What do they look like? Are they at home? Are they going out every 2 weeks? Or did they throw caution to the wind and they told people to take a mask and stick it up their nose and they're out there living their life, right? Who's your customer? Because we've got all kinds of, you may know more about your customers now than you ever did before, truthfully, right? Yeah, you might. Okay. So as you're thinking about that customer, there is someone, that customer is behaving a certain way right now online, right? They may be spending their time watching Netflix. They may be spending their time watching cooking videos. They may be on TikTok all day. They may be having issues like some people that are on screen right now who go to Twitter too much to read the news. So I've had to give myself a limit on Twitter. So I stopped reading so much news. I've started saying to myself, if you read this, will you do something different in the next 2 hours? Oh, no, you won't. Maybe you'll worry more, but you're not going to do something different, right? It's the first time in my life I've had to really meter my connection to news to not get myself in a place where I can't be productive and do what I need to do, which is running my company. All right. Your ideal client, where are they hanging out, right? So first of all, I don't want you to be thinking that, you know, my ideal client, I need to be everywhere on social media. Your client may still answer the phone, right? If you're working with folks over 65, I can tell you they still answer the phone. They still call folks, right? They will read their mail. Right now, my teenager can't stay out of the mailbox. I don't know what is supposed to be coming to him. I think he ordered something from Wish. I'm going to pick on Kim Webb. You are not allowed to talk to my son about Wish because he ordered some crazy stuff. And so every day he runs and gets the mail, and then I play the go find where the mail is in the house because he doesn't put it in the pile where we put the mail, right? Because it didn't have his mail in it. That's an adventure. I've been looking at snail mail a lot more because people have been sending me cards, and I kind of like that because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get something cheerful in the mail. It's certainly, I haven't gotten anything too sad. Social media, email blasts, video chat, and instant messaging. So those are all ways you can reach clients. But where is your ideal client? Remember, you were just jotting down my client, the person I'm trying to get a hold of in the next couple weeks. Who's that person? All right, so what I want you to look at here is what are people doing online? So there's been a lot of research in digital marketing to look at what have people been doing online since coronavirus disrupted our lives extensively. So if you look at the colors, you will see at the top of the screen, purple means 75%. A lot of people are engaged in it. So it goes from a dark color to a light color. If you can see, you should be able to see my little cursor. I'm like, what's that thing called? The little arrow. So you'll notice that if we look at Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, and Boomers, you know, you can see the folks that are spending a lot of time online and what they're doing online. So one of the things that dropped off, and we offer a prize for this, so you have to answer it in the chat, and Lisa will pay attention to the chat, because if I put the chat up, then all we'll see is all our lovely faces in the chat, and we won't see the PowerPoint. One of the things, if you look down, I'm pointing with my hand, no, you can't see that. Okay, if you see the word doing and you look over, you'll see listening to podcasts, and you will see some little headphones, and you'll notice, wow, that's not really great podcast numbers. Prior to COVID, and kind of quarantining and closing down, podcasts were doing great. So the first person to drop in the chat why you think podcasts have decreased in being interactive things for people to do. Why did it decrease? You can win a free year of our monthly newsletter that comes with free content to use. So you jot in the chat, then Lisa will figure out who did it first, and then you get to win. Okay, subscription services. Subscription services have absolutely gone up in interactions, right? We're home, we're trying. So one thing we did since we've been home is we are living, our household, because we have people with two things. One, my husband's an immunobiologist, so he's working on COVID at U of A. Two, we have family members in our social bubble who have chronic illness, that this would be deathly for them, most likely. And three, if we paid any attention to the news, you really, really need to be mindful of where you're going. So we now in our house have access to Netflix, Disney, Prime. My kids have Spotify. We have Apple Music. My mother has the Washington Post and New York Times that we, get on hers. We have pretty much every streaming service you can imagine. Hulu's not on here. We have that. We have my mom has some British TV, Acorn streaming services. And I bought the most internet you could buy, right? The largest bandwidth you could buy for a house, I bought. And my kid said, why? I said, well, if we're all going to be stuck here and we're all streaming, we're not going to drive each other crazy with buffering. It's like the least I can do for our sanity is to increase our internet bandwidth. So because our kids aren't allowed to go out. They're not socializing. They're not my daughter was a lifeguard last year. She can't do that. They were on swim teams. They can't do that. So families are your customer is absolutely part of another unit, right? I would guess most of your customers are not single persons living at home alone. That certainly is a demographic, but most of your people are part of another social unit of some kind that they're either connected to or not connected to. So be mindful of that with your marketing, right? What's the unit my customer's in? So we've been talking about, you've got an ideal customer. We've talked about what are your customers potentially doing? And then how are you going to interact with them? All right. There was a study done by, it's at the bottom of the slide, and it tells you, which of course I can't see right now, Trust Insights and Talkwalker. Trust Insights and Talkwalker did use their own software. What a great idea, right? They used their own meta software to study what were the social media audience trends. And then they released the report. So people like me who are social media managers and who work with other companies, we of course are going to read their report, and then we get all excited and we're going to buy their software, except we didn't buy the software. We just read the report and we're sharing it with you. What did we find out about social media during the pandemic? Where did people hang out online? What platforms or apps held their growth? So what that means is if a ton of people signed up for YouTube because of the quarantine, did they stay on YouTube? Did they continue using it? So 3 trends emerged. The first trend is gaming. So you might think, oh, the people, I don't sell to teenagers. How does gaming doesn't apply to my target market, but it might. The most popular game during this pandemic is called Animal Crossing. And people are playing this up into the 50-year-old age range. So if you've been around long enough, years ago on Facebook, people used to have these farms. They had a lot of games on Facebook. I see Kim Webb nodding her head. Okay, people had these farms. And then they would grow stuff on their farms, and then like if they went on vacation, someone had to monitor their farm, and it was called gamification. So what gamification, and you've experienced gamification, even if you didn't play this Farmville farm thing, I wasn't part of it, but I knew a lot of people across a lot of age ranges that played that. There were free games on Facebook. Why did Facebook give us free games? Well, when you clicked, yeah, I want to play this for free, in the little teeny tiny print, you told them, oh, by the way, we're going to pay attention to what you're doing online while you play this game so we can sell your metadata. And we went, whatever, it's a free game. I want to play a free game. Well, the other thing that you notice with gamification is did anybody ever wonder why, way back when, for those of us who are over 30 for sure, when we first got computers with a mouse, right? Because we actually had computers before mice. I know it's hard to believe, or touchpads. When we first got a computer with a mouse, and it had a mice, and it had a little mouse, and it had Windows on it, there was something on your computer, that a game that was installed, and then it was like you weren't supposed to play that game at work on your breaks. And what were we all playing? Solitaire. And there were like 5 versions of Solitaire. What Bill Gates and the team at Microsoft knew was if they put a game on the computer, something simple like Solitaire, people would learn how to use the mouse, get comfortable with the mouse, and then be comfortable using a mouse. It's hard to think of there were computers before mice, but of course there were, right? You had a laptop, you just had the keyboard, and you had the desktop, and you had a monitor, and the monitor was that horrible green screen. I don't even know what it's called, and you had like 4,000 characters to save a file, and olden days. To get people used to using a mouse, they put Solitaire on it. Then people would use the mouse to play the game. They would learn how to use a mouse, which means now I'm more comfortable using a mouse. And if you're under 30, this probably all feels like, wow, really? But yeah, so be kind to us old folks here. I'm including myself at 51. We go through a lot of changes for this stuff. Gamification gets people engaged, right? So gaming really crosses all age ranges. Why does this matter? One of the things they talk about you could do in marketing. So say, for example, and I know like Unscrewed Theater's on here, and you do some really awesome Zoom stuff, and you appeal to families and all age ranges. So one of the things, I also know you're a nonprofit, so that's not like a perfect fit because this would cost money. But one of the things you can do to increase the folks that are engaging with you is if you knew your target client was part of gaming, right? The hottest thing that happened during pandemic is called Animal Crossing. I would say, to me, it looks like a cross between those old Farmville games on Facebook and if any of your kids have played Minecraft. Basically, Animal Crossing is a Nintendo game. You play it on a Nintendo Switch. How popular was this game during the trend, during everything we're living through right now? You can't buy a Nintendo Switch for its retail cost. Its retail cost is $300. They're selling for $600 on eBay. It's very hard to get them. The game just became so popular and so many people found it. Well, let's think of it. You get to create yourself on screen the way you'd like to look. You create the island where you live. You create anything, you create your whole reality. Wouldn't that be an amazing escape right now for folks who like gaming, right? I just watch a lot of British TV because that just feels very reality escape to me from Tucson. So I watch a lot of British TV, but if you wanted to be in gamification mode, how would that work for marketing? How would that make you on point for marketing during the pandemic? If you are clear on who your target customer is and you recognize this is something they could be part of, what you would be focused on would be offering things like gift cards for Animal Crossing, right? Because you recognize this is a really hot thing right now. And so, come to my workshop, sign up for the email, have a chance to get a gift card for this game, that kind of thing, to increase your interaction online. The other trend that emerged was YouTube video. So YouTube video got used extensively more once we went into quarantine, which now we're kind of in quasi-quarantine, right? Like some people are self-quarantining and some people aren't because it's not required. So it's a really wonky time to reach customers. YouTube video is, so YouTube, if you didn't know, is the second highest used search engine online. So people use YouTube, not me. I'm not a video. Remember I said I don't even like being on video? I'm not to go look on YouTube how to do something. Oh, maybe if I actually say like this was some kind of magic bottle and I couldn't figure out how to get into it and I tried and I needed a YouTube video, I might. But for information, I read really fast and I'm a reader. So if I was your target market and you knew that in that demographic they were readers, then YouTube video is probably not where your market's hanging out. But we do know that YouTube video saw an incredible growth over this time period, and people, it's sticking. It wasn't like people just got involved and then the usership dropped off. Okay. The last thing that we know is people were looking for home-based niche apps, products, videos, and information. So what's a home-based niche? DIY, do-it-yourselfer things, cooking videos, things about preparing things at home. We know if anybody tried to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace over the pandemic, then you know everyone in the world seems to be gardening and fixing things up. People became very home-oriented because they were home. So this is where you can really dig in. Say, for example, I know Tina's on, Tina Marie's on, and I happen to know her, and she has a catering company, but her primary business is coaching and women in business and financial literacy and coaching. But because she has this catering side to her, she could do some fun cooking videos for groups to get them involved in what she actually offers. Okay. Another option for that would be, I've seen great use, Kim Craft, I see you on here. Kim, I've seen great use done by either coordinating with a restaurant or a chef and holding an event that's a cooking class. And you sponsor the cooking class, right? So there's a lot of chefs, there's a lot of restaurants that are struggling. You pick a local restaurant and you say, we want to do a video of a cooking class, and you send that out to your list, to all the people that are on your list. Hey, we're gonna have a cooking class. If you always wanted to learn how to make a perfect marinara sauce from home, we're gonna have Chef Sue from this restaurant show us how to make the perfect marinara sauce. And depending on your relationship with the restaurant, I've seen this work really well, where they either give the list of ingredients ahead of time. Some restaurants you purchase a box. And so if you wanted to do something really nice for your top 5 clients and say thank you, this is a great time not just to market to the people who don't know you, but are you remarketing to your top clients to make them brand advocates for you? How are they going to share what you're doing right now, so that while businesses are struggling, your top customers are sharing what an awesome resource you are with their community? How are they becoming part of your advocacy team? Because what we really want to happen with marketing, social media or otherwise, we want to turn people who don't know who we are, if you're at the top of the funnel, if you don't know who we are, the whole way to when your name comes up, they say, that's the best people in town, go with them. Or when people say, gee, I'm trying to find some social media help, my goal is, if 3 people are standing in a network and someone said, I really do not understand YouTube, one of those 3 people is going to say, go talk to 2 busy gals. They've been doing this forever. If they don't know how to do it, they'll find someone who does, right? That's the kind of referral I want to happen for my brand recognition in Tucson. That's what I want people to say. You know, I want, if Medicare comes up and people are confused, Kim Craft wants me to go, oh, call Kim Craft because she helped me and I wasn't even her client. And it was like, and by the way, we did get that fixed, Kim. So it's all fixed now. Yay. But Kim helped me even though I wasn't her client, because it was such a crazy situation helping my dad out of state, right? So if someone mentions Medicare, I'm going to go, oh yeah, talk to Kim Craft. She gets it. She gets it. She'll help you. She knows what's going on. So part of decide, you're talking about the ideal customer. Remember 5 slides ago, who's my ideal customer? I'm trying to reach out to them, but you also want to be maintaining your brand recognition right now. Before we go to the do's and don'ts, right? The one thing I cannot encourage you highly enough to do, please make sure, especially if you are brick and mortar or you have office hours somewhere, that you clearly, on any social media platform you're on, but especially Facebook and your website, have accurate hours of operation. Right now, we know for sure businesses are going to open, close, open, close, open, close, right? It's already happening. I've seen in Tucson more notifications of businesses permanently closing, which is quite sad. But I know in the Phoenix area, what's happening is someone who works in the restaurant is becoming positive with COVID. That means the restaurant has to close. They have to close for X amount of days, depending on the health department's regulations for Maricopa County. If you have to close, it's not enough to just slap a sign on your door saying, oh, we're so sad, someone had COVID. Update Google, update your Google My Business, and update Facebook. Be transparent. The more transparent you are right now, I don't see any way that can hurt your business. We're closing for this amount of time. Here's what we're going to do to sanitize. Here's what we do regularly to protect you. And if you're so important to us as customers, we'd rather be closed, clean, and be safe when you come back than be open and not be safe for you, right? You have got to convey that message, because think about yourself. You're like, all right, I'm going to go out. I got my mask. I've got my sprays. I'm getting in the car. I'm going to the sushi place, and they're not open on Wednesday at 4 p.m. because they've decided they're going to not be open that day, or you don't know why they're not open. They're just not open. We don't have a lot of patience. Your customer base does not have a lot of patience right now for that will feel like a much more momentous inconvenience than it really is. I mean, truthfully, it shouldn't be that big a deal, but right now, little slights, little customer slights are hitting much harder. Okay? If you don't know about Google My Business, if you don't know that you can post your own information just like you post information on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, you can do the equivalent of a social media post on Google My Business. You can update your hours. You can put an announcement that says what you're doing during this time with COVID. If you don't know how to do any of that, hop right now in the chat, say we want a class on that, because we've been asking people. We've had some classes on that. We haven't done one recently. And we also can offer you coaching. So I'm not doing this. Our classes aren't going to be for money right now. We're partnering with organizations. So it's not like I'm trying to sell you something, but please make sure you know how to use Google My Business. It's really critical right now. All right. Any questions so far? I see the chats popping up, but I think either Melanie or Lisa will let me know if there's a question for me. You can unmute yourself. We have a small enough group. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one. You guys who've been to my trainings know it's, yes.
Yeah, so Jessica, Kim had a question about how you buy a gift card for an online video game.
Oh, that is something that we will touch base with you. Just drop that you want, and I'll email you how to do that. But it would be these would be, you would get credits for the game. You would buy it online, most likely. That game, you would get it from Nintendo. As a parent, if somebody right now was offering game credits for Xbox or PlayStation, and you know your target market has teens at home, you know, a $20, hey, come check this out for a $20 Xbox or PlayStation gift credit. For those who don't know, kids who are playing online, like, they have to keep spending money online. They have an online membership they pay for to play their video. The old days, if you put a cartridge in and play it, is like old school. They are part of organic groups. They buy credits. They get updates to games. They share stuff. My son is like, I don't know what his deal. He has a friend, an acquaintance. People have reached out to him, and because he has access to buy credits, he's turned that into a side business, because he charges a percentage of how much credit they want. So say they need $50 on Xbox, he charges them like $57, so they have to pay him. He's turned this into this little side gig. Creativity abounds. But yeah, you can buy it online, and if you just drop your email in the chat, Lisa will make sure we follow up with you. Okay, so creative ideas. So I talked about this is a personal injury law firm in Las Vegas. And one of the things they did, and this is their actual post, it says, "We love our community. Post a photo of your favorite meal." They partnered with a local restaurant, and you were just taking a picture of your meal, right? So how you won this is you would take a picture of your meal, pardon me, and post it and tag the law firm. And the meal that won got a box of goods. Some restaurants are still doing this, where you can buy a box of goods from a restaurant. They're selling kind of like their cook at home meal. So Rachel's Kitchen is kind of a funky, obviously you can see fresh food based. They're very garden to table restaurant in Vegas. And so what they did was they promoted this, they partnered with the restaurant, and then the winner got this fresh farm box. This same law firm just did some for Father's Day. Their promotion was post a selfie with dad, and you got the most expensive donuts I've ever heard of. They are $70 a dozen. I don't know what these donuts do other than be donuts, but they're from some very posh, lush place. They must be like the best tasting donut ever. Anyways, so they find local restaurants, local eateries, unique things that people may not do. And you can see nothing in that post is saying, "Hi, we're a personal injury lawyer. Call us if you've had an accident." All they have is their logo, right? There's just nothing overwhelming in that image. It's all about community, right? So I recommend, whether you have the budget to do something like this, but the other thing you can do is, if you like local, or if you are you love golf and you don't want Top Golf to leave us, you could share Top Golf's posts on your pages, right? So you don't always have to buy a gift card or buy something. You can take content and share it to your audience from these other organizations. And you might say, why would I do that? Like, why would I promote Top Golf if I'm Kim Webb and I sell tchotchkes and promotional items? Why would I promote Top Golf? Well, the reason she might promote Topgolf, one, it lets me know that Kim actually cares about golfing and she thinks golf stuff is really cool. Actually, I don't know if Kim does like golf. She's like, no, she's looking like not at all. Okay. But so we're going to pretend she did. So for me, it's not unusual to see on Two Busy Gals a post for Mostly Books. One, if you ever met Two Busy Gals, we are book readers. The whole freaking crew, everyone we've hired reads books. Not like it was a requirement. We are some book gals. Okay. Mostly Books is locally owned. It's owned by two sisters. Okay, it's a bookstore owned by two sisters. Two Busy Gals owned by two sisters. I mean, you almost have to support them, right? Also, they are crazy supportive of the recovery community in Tucson. They have a meeting room in the back and they offer space for low to no cost, not currently, but they did for the recovery community, which is something that's a passion interest for us as a business. So if you want to learn more, who do we buy from? People we know, like, and trust. How do people learn about you when they can't meet you for coffee over one-on-ones? They're not meeting you at networking things. I can get to know you by what you post online. So it matches with our brand to share Mostly Books because one, we love books, we buy books, we give books away. Two, it's a locally owned store. That's important to us as a business. Three, it's owned by two sisters. So it's like, hello, we're practically required to support it. And you learn that as a company, this company cares about learning, right? So all of that connects in a way that lets people learn and get to know us online. So remember when I said my goal is if 3 people get together and one person says they don't know what to do on social media, at least one of the other people anywhere in Tucson says call Two Busy Gals. Well, if you go and look us up on Facebook and you scroll through that feed, you're like, they must support local businesses. Oh, look, they're interested in this. They're going to get to know you by what you post. So your post isn't always meant I click it and I buy something, right? It's also part of the subtle art of letting people get to know and like you and trust you. This is not a great idea. This is for you, Miss Kim at East to West Promotions. So Chuck E. Cheese actually as a business model, for those of you who are local, you know, Sweet Tomatoes is gone, right? Corporately, Sweet Tomatoes decided to close. They didn't go bankrupt. The owner put about 2 million, Sweet Tomatoes is a buffet style. That's why I'm bringing this up. It's a buffet style restaurant that you really can only go and participate in a very interactive way. The owners put about $2 million up to pay their employees and then announced there is no way we can retrofit this business any possible way. We need to close, right? And what's fascinating to me is how business, and if you're like, how the heck does she know that? Well, because they shared it on social media. They shared what their viewpoint was. There were news articles, but it was also shared on social media. And I got to read what the owner said. And he said, there is absolutely no way for us to refit anything for a multiple walk-up buffet restaurant. Because by the time my son goes, well, they could have servers and they could have menus. I said, yes, and now that's an entirely different restaurant model than they've ever had, right? So it's not their model. This is an example of not a great idea. So some places that were trying to let you know they were open when the quarantine and it was like what's open and what's closed. I will give them points for being creative in the moment, but I feel like when they spent the $10 for the spray paint, they maybe should have spent the whole $50 and called Kim Webb at East West Promotions and got a banner, right? And this one is not local, but we've seen them all over. We were sending pictures to Kim Webb all the time going, oh my God, go to this restaurant, get them a banner. Go to this restaurant, get them a banner. The challenge is, while this shared information, hey, you can come get pizza, you can come get wings, and it's dirt cheap. And this actually was in New York City proper. It was over in one of the boroughs in the Bronx. So this is like practically free food there. The challenge is, this doesn't really convince me that you're following clean health safety protocols as a restaurant. I don't feel like you're paying attention to detail. And if you're not paying attention to the detail of your sign, how much attention are you paying to the detail of the wings I'm ordering from you, right? So this is not a great idea for marketing. COVID-based content. So this is very interesting. When we first did this workshop, we looked at ways you could share, what could people do while they were in quarantine. So I think that information still works. We still want to share there's still people in quarantine. I'm one of them. And you know what? When I see businesses that are like, hey, we know some of you still can't come out, we still have curbside service. We're still offering these to go bundles. They appeal to me to be involved with because they recognize not all their customers can actually come in even though they've opened, right? Flip side is in March, nobody would have sent you troll negative comments to this, right? Now, if you put low risk activities, I hate to tell you, you're going to get some trolls. You're going to get some local people. I've learned more about people I knew networking in the last 3 months than I did in the 5 years I knew them from their responses to things. So I want you, and we'll talk about this in a couple slides, just be super crazy mindful because we're going to talk about all the political things going on right now. And we were never one of the companies that said don't post anything political, don't post anything religious, never put anything controversial. I thought that was fake. I don't think that there are people that are that neutral. I just don't think we're that generic. We're not that blah, you know, we're just not that blah as humans and businesses. I do encourage you to be strategic about it. If you choose to not mention it, know why you're not mentioning it. And if you choose to mention it, know why you're mentioning it. This will become important. You will gain and lose customers right now over things that have nothing to do with your business, product, service, or staff. There's just no question. But let's make sure it's part of your strategy and not just, oh crap, I didn't realize, right? So make it part of your strategy and not an oh crap. Okay. Oh, well, that's probably not the most professional language, but it's not the worst I've ever said in training. Pivot. So this was a local company. So is your business in, we've all pivoted. So let's talk about Unscrewed Theater, right? So you're a facility, you want people to come in, you want them to experience it. How can we digitally? How can you do that online? And how can you make it still fun and interactive? One of the things we've been doing, our team has been going to training after training, and we're going to be offering some workshops on how to make this, what we're doing right now, if you can see my hands, this more interactive. Less, I'm sort of staring at my screen. So I feel like because we can see each other in Zoom, it's better than webinars, right? We've all gone to webinars for years, right? And you couldn't even see the person's face and you just heard their voice and the slides went through. But how can we make this even more interactive? And there's some really cool ways to do that. And we're definitely gonna be sharing those with you. So the one was like when I said, hey, get your pens out, and I did this. And for the people who got their pen and waved it, just doing that is physically connecting you to the event. So anything at Unscrewed Theater that you can do to get people physically moving, and you're probably already thinking of this if you haven't already done it. If you've already done it, thumbs high, and if you hadn't thought about it, go do it now. I was at a workshop, and if you can see the picture view of me, so to get to the next section, we all had to, he's like, hold your hands up, interlock your fingers. In fact, let's do it. Can folks see me? Can you give me a thumbs high if you can see me? So you do see me. Okay, put your hands up. Everyone put their hands up. Interlock your fingers like this, close, and we're gonna do the Zoom wave. I know it's totally corny and it's totally cheesy. And everyone in the room had to do that to get to the next slide. Like that's what he had us, do to get to the next slide. And everyone was cracking up, and Zoom will let you break out people into little breakout rooms of 2 or 3. You know how in a workshop where they're like, okay, talk to your neighbor? You can do that with Zoom. I mean, you can't do it because you're participating in Zoom, but Melanie or I could make us go into little breakout groups if we wanted. And the guy kept having us do this crazy Zoom wave to get to the breakout room. And it's just as cheesy as stuff we do in training in life. We're like, stand up, stretch, do this, do this. But your brain, when you physically move while you're learning, your brain processes the information differently than if you passively sit there. It's just how we're wired. So I think we're going to have a lot of interactive online stuff for a while, or really boring online stuff. And you know, the gals, we don't like to be boring. So we want to have ways to make this more interactive. Pivots. So a pivot could be when you're doing your Zooms to do some of this funky interactive stuff. And we're going to have workshops to help people practice and figure out how to do that for your own Zoom meetings. Merit Foods supplies food to their commercial distributor, and they supply food to who? To restaurants. Well, if restaurants are closed, their business drops in half, right? And you can't just say, hey, grocery store, do you want our tomatoes? So in case you didn't know, I know way more about this than a person should, but if you didn't know, the way in which grocery stores and restaurants get their food are entirely different supply chains. Everything from the farmer to the trucks to the distributors to how it gets into that restaurant or that store are completely so different that even the size of the product doesn't fit properly on a grocery store shelf. So that's why when we ran out of stuff at grocery stores, they couldn't just say, hey, let's grab the stuff that goes to restaurants. It's a totally different method of things getting out there. So at the local level, what did Merit Food do? They said, hey, we could sell to people. We don't have to sell to the grocery store. And they had some big hiccups because I went the second day. At first they thought, I don't know how many people they thought would show up, but they thought people would just show up and they would give them their order and they'd put it in their car and they'd drive on. They had so many people, they had to send them home. They said, sorry, we screwed up. We didn't do this correctly. Because they're a commercial business, the only way you could go online and order from them and use a credit card was to have a professional commercial account with them, right? So if you've ever set up commercial accounts, they want to check your credit and then they want to know where your bank is. And it's a whole purchase requisition process because they're selling to restaurants, not the Smith family one time. They're selling to Jerry Bob's every week. So they got their system down, and to this day, they are still selling, and they got very active on social media. Actually, right away, I was messaging them going, guys, your post that says drive here and stop has been shared with hundreds of groups I'm in. You have got to go in and clean up your social media or cards are just going to keep showing up. This is a more recent post, and you can see down here, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook. You can check for their updates. They sell boxes of a prepackaged box of vegetables and meat. You could just go and say, here's my $110, and they throw it in the back of your car and you drive off and you don't have to interact with anybody and you can get your meat and your produce. So they're going forward. So that tells me that there must have been enough interest in Jane and John, consumer going there that they kept this going even after restaurants open. So I don't know that they'll ever unpivot from this, right? I would say that it's not like it's wholesale prices, but wholesale prices aren't going to be like fries on sale price, right? Like they undercut their price for their sale stuff, so you come in. But what is easy is you call and say, I want 40 pounds of chicken and I want 30 pounds of rice, and they go, okay, and you drive and you pick it up, and you don't go to 10 stores that are sold out. And right now, it might be worth your time or your health to not have to go a lot of places. Another thing you can share is resources in the community. This was a business, this is actually a little coffee shop, and they started this free giving table in their coffee shop, partially to encourage people to come in, but also because they realized things like diapers and toilet paper and paper towels and baby formula early on were very hard to find. But what I want you to look at is just this post that they shared, like you can see what I'm pointing to. Okay, but if you look at the bottom of the slide, it got shared almost 300 times. This one post got shared 300 times. So what are you posting? It doesn't have to be your table in your office, but if you know of businesses, or maybe Kim's like, this is a great idea. I love, say she loves Cartel Coffee and they're back open, and she goes to Cartel and says, you know what? I'm gonna bring in this stuff and I'm gonna sponsor the giving table and we're gonna promote this everywhere. So if your business isn't a natural fit, but this would be definitely a way that you could make it work. Does that make sense to folks? So it's kind of figuring creative ways. Like no one's breaking down the door to get an informational pamphlet on marketing materials from Kim or Kim Webb, or breaking down the door of Two Busy Gals saying, yes, please give me a pamphlet on your latest workshop. But if I wanted to get name recognition for Two Busy Gals, I would absolutely have I would have talked with businesses and sponsored little tables like this anywhere anyone was willing. It would have been branded. It would have had a pink tablecloth. It would have had our logo on it. And I would be blowing that stuff up all over social media. It's just an easy way to do it. So if you're doing things, there's nothing wrong with sharing that your company does good. Sometimes we want to be like, oh, I volunteered, I want to be quiet, I don't want people to know. If you're donating stuff, because so out in Vail, Arby's in Vail it's that crazy road that's like, it's Old Vail Row and then it's Marion Cleveland Way. Anyways, so there's Arby's out in Vail. every Sunday, 50% of their gross for the day was donated to the food bank in Vail. They ended up donating, I don't know, like $30,000 over the course of several months to the food bank. Do you think that them saying, hey, we're doing it again, 50% is going to the food bank, made people go to Arby's on Sunday because they knew that what they were doing was doing good? If you were going to go through a drive-through anyways, maybe you just want to go. So one of the things that happened with food banks, particularly the one in Vail run by Resources, they could not take food donations, right? They still had to give stuff out, but they couldn't take food donations until it really got clear how to keep things safe. And so they needed cash donations. And that's why that Arby's partnership worked so well for them. Guess what, guys? Any of your businesses could do that. Any of them. It doesn't have to, you could be the Arby's in that equation. Find the charity. Is it Resources? Is it Impact? Is it, find the charity. Is it the blah, 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 blah. I just hit the where's the caffeine. Is it you really care about what's happening at the animal shelter? It literally doesn't matter. If you love spotted owls, do spotted owls. If the environment is your thing, do the environment. If kids are your thing, do kids. Pick a charity and say 50%, 10%, every new client, $50 worth of supplies. The Girls and Boys Club right now is struggling because they can't safely have kids come in. So what are they doing? They're sending home to-go packs, right? To-go craft and fun packs for kids to have at home. You know what? For $50, you could get a lot of stuff at Dollar Tree. Make a picture. This is what will be donated for every new client I have. This is what will be donated to Boys and Girls Club. Take a picture of it. If you don't know how to get a hold of them, email me. I'll tell you who to talk to drop it off. These are things that get creative information out there. Remember, again, so I know, like, and trust you. I'm doing business with you. What's important to you? On the flip side, if you happen to be someone who's super, super anti-masks, you really, really feel like that's just Lululand and people shouldn't be wearing masks, it's going to be hard for someone to do business with you and that not come up in your conversation. So I say embrace your belief. I may not agree with it, but embrace your belief, and maybe your customers believe it too. In other words, it's like you just can't be inauthentic. Like when I said to Kim Webb about golf, and she was like, dear God, no, I would never be promoting. I mean, yes, I'll sell you golf tees with your name on it all day, but don't ask me to go play. All right, where do we go from here? So this is a new slide that we've added in the presentation, and I called it silent or comment. So earlier this week, someone asked us for what did we think about commenting on, supporting, sharing information Juneteenth versus July 4th. I don't think it's a versus, but then I don't see most things as either or. My mindset and frankly our company's mission is most things are both and. You can choose as a business to stay away from all of this. Flags, NASCAR, protests, monuments being torn down. You can choose to not comment on any of this, absolutely. Or you can choose to comment on some, or you can choose to comment on all of it. Decide, if you do nothing else today, make a strategic decision of what is our business policy on what's happening in the world right now. Because you are not immune from it. You're not in some little protected Tucson bubble where it's not going to affect us. Of course it's going to affect us, right? Of course, we made, not only we're so lucky in Arizona, we're making news, not just for our health numbers, but yesterday we made national news everywhere for the young man who died in custody, the officers who have quit but are now being investigated, and our chief of police resigning. I mean, he offered his resignation. I'm not actually sure if the mayor accepted it. All I saw was he offered, and then I didn't see anything else. So that's on me that I don't know if it went through. But you have to decide, what you are going to say or not say. And I think there's a lot of room for dialogue. I think be true to who you are. We talked about Juneteenth, and we talked about the 4th of July. In a previous workshop, it was a question from a participant. And that's when folks found out I happen to be a white lady who has a master's degree in Black Studies. I spent a lot of time studying and learning about and working in communities of color that I was not a part of, other than I was present in the community and lived in the community. So we don't have that kind of polite society luxury right now in this time, and maybe we won't again, to just sort of, oh, we don't talk about that, right? It's going to be hard to avoid. If you were meeting someone one-on-one for coffee, you're either going to wear a mask or not wear a mask, right? And if they come in and they don't have a mask and you have a mask on, there's a high potential that conversation is going to be different than if you had met them in November. You will know things about them you would have never known if you had met them in November. And you'll have to make a decision, right? You have to make a decision. Some of you don't have as much luxury with that because, so I'll take Kim Webb or Tina and I, we own our own companies, right? So we have a lot of latitude in what we can do, right? My staff are very clear. My team, Lisa, they're very clear. If you are out as two busy gals, you better have a mask on and you better be 6 feet away from somebody. That is our company policy. If you're at the grocery store by yourself, do whatever you want. I do believe you have your own private life separate from work, but, well, not if you own the business, you're never separate from work. But if you work somewhere I honor, you can be separate from your job. But we're just going to have to make choices. And they're hard and they're not fun. And you know what? It's long overdue that we make some of them. I just really believe that. Okay. Let me get this out of the way. So here's some really quick tips. I know we're coming up on time, and I do want to leave the last couple minutes if anyone had a burning question or something they wanted to ask us. You can get the PowerPoint from us if you want it. Please put your email in the chat, and Lisa will make sure it's emailed to you. So provide clarity. So over here, you even see the to-do not, like, because this was an older slide, I didn't update. It says refrain from sharing political or controversial messages. I say refrain or post, but be clear how it's part of your message. How is it part of what you're doing as a business? We're not going to be able to kind of have that separate, people don't really know how I feel about that. People don't actually know what religion I am. They don't know if I believe in God. They don't know if I practice religion. They don't know how I feel about Black Lives Matter, Well, we have a big old mural, I don't know what they're calling the things they painted on the street, but we've got one downtown, We have a police death in custody and questions to ask. Why is that information just coming out 2 months later? If you go to a networking meeting, I heard a story of an in-person kind of luncheon, and someone shared that they went and they were wearing a mask, and most of the other people at the networking weren't wearing masks. And they felt the social pressure to take their mask off. And we talked about that's going to be part of what we're going to encounter. I mean, I use that as a teaching point because I have teenagers, and I said, it hurts my heart that as an adult person wanting to do business, you would feel the pressure to not protect yourself the way you believe you need to be protected in a business environment. It's very sad to me. And I talk to my teens about it because I think sometimes you think, oh, I'm going to be grown up and there won't be pressure anymore. And I'm like, oh, no, they're just older. Those people, they're just older. They're still doing the same stuff. Be sure you have policies. Do you know what I mean? You can definitely, like I told you, our business policy is very clear. If you're out as two busy gals, I know Lisa's been to some in-person networking things. They were outside and the restaurant was able to maintain distance, but she's like, oh yeah, here's my pink mask. I've got a pink mask and I put that on. Of course it's pink. We're two busy gals. Of course it's a pink mask. How can we help? We're here to help. If you haven't been comfortable being online and doing Zoom calls, one of our great friends, Darla Roberts, her camera kept being screwy because she has 2 cameras because she's broadcasting on Facebook Live. She started doing Zoom. She needs to do Google, and she demonstrates her card crafting. She sells Stampin' Up. So we have practiced with her every online format there is and how her overhead camera should be of her demo and the camera facing her of her. And we did that just because she's been an ongoing customer of ours. We have this website. If you go to this site, Curated Curious Content, there's always some little inspirational or kind of quirky question. Those are royalty-free, copyright-free, created by us for you. So go grab one for the day and post it somewhere. You're like, I don't know what to post. Hey, I like that. Scroll through, see what it says, and post. We want you to use it. You've been here. I just told you we will help you. We would do we'll do a 30-minute walkthrough with you on your technology. We always have a special. This would cost you actually like $150 real price. Not that, I'm sorry, I have a pet peeve about this is $7,000, but well, they never sold it anywhere for $7,000. We've sold this for $150, but we're offering it for $49. Why? Because I want to keep the people on our team. I want to keep the gals working, but I recognize we all may be struggling with some cash flow issues. So we added some extra goodies and you get that hour of coaching, and we've had plenty of people pay $100 for our hours of coaching. And we would be glad to work with you on your strategy, your policies. That's our give back to the community, and it helps keep some of the gals, keeps the light on. All right, let's go to the chat. What I really want to see is all your beautiful faces. Yeah, so let's do this. So we're kind of at time. Is there anyone else who had questions or wanted to ask something? Is there anything that wasn't asked? And quite frankly, is there anything we could do better? Is there something that would make this better? We're getting asked a lot to speak, and we're not, if you're in another group, a networking group, we are doing that. We do this for free. We don't charge for this. We believe information needs to be shared. And if we get customers or referrals out of it, that's great. But if it helps your business, that's really important to us too. So if you think there's something we could do better, let us know. Is there any hanging out there questions, anything we didn't get to that you wish we had answered? Oh, Melanie's giving me a thumb up, and I know she is not an easy person to get a thumbs up from. I know she's got high stuff. All right, well, if there aren't any questions, oh, question, Chris, yes, please.
Yeah, I was just curious, the curated
content? Uh-huh.
Yeah, is that actually a website or is that a Facebook group?
I'm sorry, that's a Facebook page.
Okay.
That is a Facebook page. And it's actually, I don't know who won our question, who answered the question way back when. Oh, Margie won. Nobody's driving, so they don't listen to podcasts. So what Margie won is that curated content. So if you go to the Facebook page, there's something there every day. And that's a great story. Who do we keep employed by doing that? We had a high school intern a year ago for about 6 weeks, paid through a program. She was so good, we kept her. And so that's her project that she manages. She creates that. She's actually going off to college. And you might see her in some of our networking groups because we're getting her up to speed on how to network. She's starting at U of A, but she creates that content. That little newsletter, if you subscribe to it, the one that Margie, so you can wait and then follow up and ask Margie if it's any good. It has tips and tricks, and then it has 30 pieces of content that are copyright free, royalty free. It has a couple images. We don't give you 30 images. I wish I could give you that. And it costs $10 a month. So it has all kinds of like interactive questions, inspirational quotes, trivia, just sort of random stuff. Sometimes we get the most interaction from the most random posts, right? You know, like we post all this juicy content, and I'm sure the chamber does too, you know, like get active, do this. And then you post like, what's your favorite EGs? And 100 people answer, right? It's like, no, I'm team watermelon. No, I'm team mango. And you're like, really? But we like to be interactive online. That's important to us. As humans, we like to be interactive online. So give a chance for your audience, your social media audience, to interact with you online. And they will. And a few diehards will like your important stuff. Yes, Kim Webb.
I have a question. So Margie, I don't see her name up here anymore, but she asked a question about how she gets alerts. I didn't even know this. There's an alert that can get a hold of you and let you know that somebody else is talking about your business. I don't know if that was what she was talking about or not. Maybe you can elaborate, Margie. I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead, Margie, and answer.
Well, it was answered too. So yeah.
It's answered. It's Google Alerts. She answered in the chat, Kim. You basically in Google Alerts, you can put in the name of your business. And another thing you can do regularly, whether you're known your name or your business name or both, is what I call a vanity search. And we recommend businesses no less than once a quarter. Type that into Google and see what comes up. What is Google still tagging? You know, it'll come up like some blog I replied to 3 years ago is still coming up, right? So kind of see what you're connected with because it still comes up there. Well, if there's nothing further, Oh, and do people know you can save this chat? So at the bottom of the screen, if you're looking at the chat, there's some 3 little dots and it says more. And if you click that, it gives you the choice of saving the chat down to your computer. So any Zoom you're in, you can save the chat to your computer. And the other thing
that's
is,
only actually if the settings from the administrator allow for it.
Okay, she didn't allow us to do that. If they allow you to do it. And also remember that the host of your chat, your private conversation, so say like, Leanne and I were like, oh, I don't really know, that lady's so crazy, why is she in this Zoom? If you could say, if we were saving the chat, all the private conversations go in it and the hosts see them. So, you know, nothing's private anyway, so not really sure if people would do that, but just a Zoom let you know. Okay. Anything anybody else needs? Please reach out if we can help. We're glad to. It's TOO Busy Gals. It's you just put that in. You can put 2 Busy Gals in social media, and you'll find emails and social media, and or, you know, in Google, and where to track us down. And our updated stuff's on our website, and you'll see us hopping in. If you guys aren't a member of the chamber, I highly encourage you to join. It's just really important that we support our organizations. And if they have for fee, like I've noticed a couple of our chambers we're part of have switched to fee, and I'm glad that they are, because events are how chambers, you know, keep things going. And so we want to support the organizations that we're part of. So thank you everyone for being here today.